This video is about adding and subtracting fractions from whole numbers using equivalents and number lines. Now before we go too far, I want to review how to make a number line because there was some confusion about that. Big idea with that is you have a line, and I have arrows at both ends because the number line, being a line, keeps going forever and ever. If it was a line segment, it would stop. Okay, and then once I get to this point, I can number it. Let's say that I am looking for 1 2/3. On this number line, I would label this first part 1 and this next part 2, because I know that 1 2/3 is between 1 and 2. And then I'm going to divide this section into thirds. So 1 2/3 would be represented at this line here, because I have 1 plus 1/3 plus another third, and I have 1/3 remaining. So here would be 1 2/3. Number line, I can change the numbers however I wanted. So I could have made this be 5 and this be 0, and then had other lines that I'm dividing it, however you want. Okay, if it's 1 2/3, it doesn't make sense to go to a number like 20 though. So make sure that it's reasonable. Okay, let's look at a problem that we have. Here we don't have any numbers, but we know what we're looking at. We have one rectangle plus one rectangle and 3/4 of another. Okay, in my head, when I would add this, I would rearrange them so that I have two rectangles. Notice that I'm shading it to represent that I do have those. And 3/4, so that I have 2 3/4. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm saying that I have one whole plus 3/4. And I realize now, sorry, that should be fourths, not 2 3/2. 2 3/4. And we're going to use our number line similarly. 1 plus 1 3/4, I can do that on a number line. On this number line, I'm going to start with 0. And I know that 1 3/4 is less than 2. So I'm going to round that to 2. And so I'm going to say 1 plus 2 is 3. And I'm going to use 0 and 3 as my reference points on this number line. That is already there. And then I'm going to split it into wholes. So I have one whole and two wholes. And I'm going to write 1, 2. And I know I need to split this into fourths, but I'm not going to split every section into fourths because I don't need every section in fourths. I'm only going to do that in the last section. And the reason that I can do that is when I'm adding, I'm going to add the whole numbers first. So what this is going to look like is 1 plus 3/4. Change that to a 4. Okay, so I'm going from 0 to 1, and then from 1, I'm adding 1 more to 2, and then I'm adding 3/4. And this is what it would look like on a number line, so that I know I now have 2 wholes and 3/4 for a total of 2 3/4. Try this next one on your own. 2 3/10 plus 3. Take a minute, solve it, and then I'll show you how it looks on mine. So when I solve this, my number line goes from 0 to 6. I did that because 2 3/10 I'm rounding to 3, and then I'm adding that second 3, so 3 plus 3 equals 6. And when I do this problem, I'm going to rearrange it so that I have 2 plus 3 plus 3/10. And so I'm going from 0 to 2, and then I'm adding 3 more. 2 plus 3 is 5, and then I'm adding 3/10. 1, 2, 3. So that when I solve this, I can see that my closest whole number is 5 and then I'm adding 3/10. So my solution is 5 3/10. What about subtraction? 1 minus 1/4. Well, in this, I know that I can label my wholes on what I already have. I have 0 and 1. And instead of going left to right, I'm going to go right to left after I do my divisions. So each of these is 1/4. Okay, and I'm doing 1 minus 1/4, and we're going backwards. So I'm going to start at 1, and I'm taking away 1/4. So I know that I still have these 3/4. So 1 minus 1/4 is 3/4. Try this problem on your own. 2 minus 3/5. Now when I drew this number line, I started at 0 and I went up to 2. And I could go to 2 because 2 is my greatest number right now, and we're not subtracting negative, so I don't need to go higher than 2. So I can start at 2, and then I'm subtracting 3/5. So I'm going from 2 to here. And I'm getting rid of this fifth, this fifth, and this fifth. That's the 3/5 that I'm taking away. So if I look at what I have left, I have 1 whole and 1 2/5. So I have 1 and 2/5.